probably heard of the AK-47, the world's most famous weapon, but have you ever wondered how it's made? From raw steel and plastic pellets to the final fully functional assault rifle, watch as we take a step-by-step look at how the AK-47 is crafted. You'll see how basic materials are transformed into one of the most durable and reliable firearms in the world. By understanding this process, you'll gain insights into engineering, history, and maybe even a cool story to share. Let's shine a light on the darker side of the AK-47's legacy. This iconic firearm, while celebrated for its durability and simplicity, also carries a heavy burden. It's estimated that over 250,000 people lose their lives each year due to its use, making it a symbol not just of defense, but also of destruction. And speaking of scale, over 1 million AK-47s are made every year, meeting a global demand that spans both legitimate armed forces and illicit markets. The AK-47 gets its name from its inventor, Mikhail Kalashnikov. In 1941, while recovering from an injury and unable to fight on the front lines, Kalashnikov began designing a new automatic rifle. After several years of refining his design, it was adopted by the Soviet military in 1947, giving the weapon its name, Avtomat Kalashnikova 1947, or AK-47. What makes the AK-47 truly incredible is its unbelievable durability. It can function in extreme conditions like sand, mud, and water, making it a reliable weapon in any environment. This durability, coupled with its simple design, contributed to its widespread adoption. In fact, there are over an estimated 100 million AK-47s and variants in circulation worldwide, used by over 50 national armed forces. Now, let's see how this iconic weapon is made, starting with the raw materials. Steel is the heart and soul of the AK-47. Most of it comes from Eastern Europe, where they know a thing or two about making tough metals. Picture this: massive shipping containers and trucks rolling into a warehouse packed with high-quality steel and polymers. This is where it all begins. The key materials for the AK-47 include hardened steel alloys for structural components like the receiver, barrel, and bolt carrier. After passing rigorous quality checks, these steels are melted and cast into huge ingots. This high-quality steel often finds its way from countries with less than stellar human rights records. But hey, good steel is good steel, right? Meanwhile, the plastic parts like the stock pistol grip and magazine are made from a super strong and lightweight plastic developed in the 1980s. This plastic comes from one of the best manufacturers in Asia, where they have cutting-edge factories that can produce huge amounts of it every day. It's interesting how these cutting-edge factories also happen to be in regions notorious for labor issues and questionable environmental practices. Coincidence? Perhaps not. Once delivered, the steel ingots and plastic pellets go through more quality tests. Then they're either stored in giant warehouses or sent straight to the processing areas. Now let's head to the steel processing area. Here, big machines and high-tech equipment turn solid steel blocks into the detailed parts of the AK-47. More like watching Transformers in action, but with a lot more sparks. First, we go into the ingot breaking section. Here, huge computer-controlled machines cut the massive 5-ton steel blocks into smaller pieces for easier handling. It's amazing to see these giant steel blocks, which normally need a lot of people to move, being sliced up effortlessly by these powerful machines. Next, the steel blocks are heated in electric furnaces to over 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, making the steel soft and easy to shape. Hot steel is then pressed into standard bar shape. This energy-intensive process isn't exactly great for the environment, contributing to significant greenhouse gas emissions. But the show must go on, right? After that, the steel is quickly cooled in tanks to make it strong and durable. This process makes the steel stronger and more resistant to rust. Next, the bar stock goes through various computer-controlled machines where multi-armed robots carve the steel into parts like trigger guards, bolt carriers, and receivers. All the leftover steel bits are collected, cleaned, sorted, and recycled, creating a zero-waste system. Zero waste sounds great, but let's not forget about the waste generated by the mining and transportation of raw materials. That part kinda gets swept under the rug. When the plastic pellets arrive, they go through strict quality tests to ensure they meet all the necessary standards. Only the best pellets make it through. Precise machines then measure out the exact mix of colorants, fillers, and other additives. The blended mix is vacuum purged to remove any air bubbles before it goes into the main processing equipment. Here, computer-controlled machines heat and shape the mix into a moldable material. The hot plastic is piped into large automated molding machines, which precisely fill each mold to create parts like pistol grips, stocks, and magazines. Robots move the molds through different temperature zones to keep the process smooth. The finished parts pop out of the molds already perfectly shaped. The production of plastic components involves the use of various chemicals and produces waste that can be harmful to the environment. But who's counting as long as the rifles come out perfect? Next, the parts go through quality checks to make sure they meet all the specifications. Any defective pieces are set aside for rework or disposal. Only the best parts move on to final finishing and packaging. This process also minimizes waste by reusing or recycling rejected materials. We're finally on the factory floor. This is where all the parts get their final touches and tests before being assembled. How did they make sure that each part is perfect? Let's find out. Robotic stations quickly move the steel and plastic parts between computer-controlled machines. Skilled technicians watch over the process and adjust as needed. Heavy-duty machines handle tough jobs like drilling and shaping, while other machines do the precise work of boring and milling. Barrels get special treatment to ensure they're super smooth for top accuracy. Robotic polishing cells give the parts a sleek, shiny finish. Throughout the process, high-tech measuring stations check every part to make sure it meets standards. Special tools and automated cameras compare parts to digital blueprints to catch any mistakes. Finished parts get protective coatings like parkerizing or chrome plating to make them resistant to corrosion and wear. Strict environmental controls make sure any harmful byproducts are safely removed. With all parts finished and inspected, they're ready for assembly. This is where everything comes together. Finally, we reach the assembly line where skilled technicians and advanced machinery come together to build complete AK-47 rifles. Even though robots help out, it still takes the skilled touch of experienced workers to make everything perfect. In the rifle assembly cell, technicians work at stations with kits that contain all the parts for one rifle. They have special tools, gauges, and manuals on hand. Large monitors show 3D animations of the build process for guidance. Assembly starts with the internal parts, like the bolt carrier group, gas piston, and barrel. The pistol grips and butt plates snap into the polymer receivers, which then fit snugly with the steel components. It's like putting together a puzzle with each piece fitting just right. Next, machines secure the barrel nuts with inch-perfect precision. Strong yet flexible epoxies reinforce key areas, while riveting, pinning, and staking create durable connections. Once assembled, the rifles go to test ranges for firing tests and strict inspections. Only the rifles that pass these tough tests get their factory marks. Quality assurance techs perform random final checks before packaging and shipping. While the rifles undergo rigorous testing, let's not forget that these weapons often end up in conflict zones, sometimes falling into the wrong hands. Quality control is one thing, ethical control is another. Here's where it gets intense. Random samples from each batch face rigorous tests, including physical measurements, firing tests, and even destructive testing. Only batches that meet all quality standards get certified. Serial numbers are applied, manuals are compiled, and the rifles are cleaned and packaged for shipment. Finally, robots load the pallets into shipping containers for transport by road, rail, and sea. Satellites track the shipments to ensure they arrive on time. There's a sense of pride and satisfaction that washes over the workers who've helped craft these AKs, knowing they've crafted rifles that have been protecting people since 1947. From raw materials to finished product, the entire AK-47 manufacturing process takes experienced gunmakers approximately 10 to 15 man-hours per weapon. And there it is. Craftsmanship meets controversy. While workers take pride in their creation, it's worth remembering that this iconic firearm has been at the center of countless conflicts, symbolizing both freedom and oppression. It's fascinating to think about the road each rifle takes before it ever sees the battlefield, built with such care and precision. But let's not forget, the AK-47 is as controversial as it is iconic. Who knew a tool of war could inspire such a mix of admiration and debate?